of course, English media, one thing they love doing is putting down their own players. I think Michael One came out and said he doesn't have the right character to lead England.
Would you say Joe Root is the number one guy? Where do you think he's going to end up?
If Root continues like in this form, like the way he's played for the last 3-4 years, I mean, he could break that record.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode on Boundary Line Podcast. Dillon Pink here, and I've got Sheldon Dougherty on the show with me. And Test cricket is well and truly alive, or is it? We're going to find out all that and more in our podcast here. But before we go ahead, requesting our viewers, please hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to our channel and don't forget to follow us on Instagram and all our other socials there, as it will really help us, to bring more such work there to you guys. But Sheldon, welcome back on the show. It's really nice to have you again, man.
Yeah, Dil, it's been too long. I mean, so much has happened in the world and in cricket. And Olympics also ended, Dil, since we last did a podcast. The T20 World Cup ended. Another World Cup is coming up here in the UAE as well, Dil. It's been way too long, but glad to be back here doing podcasts with you, Dil.
Of course, it's always nice to have you here on the show, Sheldon. But today we are going to discuss, Sheldon, about is Test cricket truly alive or is it not? What are your thoughts on that, Sheldon? Because we've obviously seen England versus Sri Lanka there, the brand that was played there, a clear difference between England and Sri Lanka there. Pakistan also versus Bangladesh. First, your thoughts on England versus Sri Lanka there. Like I said earlier, I thought that there was a clear difference between England and the way Sri Lanka played, Sheldon.
Yeah, Dil, I mean, that's such a key question, right? Is Test cricket alive? Is it dying? I mean, Dil, I think some results, we can say England were outstanding in the first two games especially. But sometimes you need some results for Test cricket. And I think you look at few results. I mean, West Indies win in Australia, that second Test match. Sri Lanka's win in the final Test match as well. Like, yes, you'd love to see big teams doing well, but Test cricket more than anything needs, the teams outside the big three doing well, because the big three are fine. India, Australia, England, they have a lot of money. They have a great infrastructure. They have a great county system. They play 3 Test matches, 4 Test matches, 5 Test matches. But the teams outside of them, they need wins. They need more eyes on them, because we saw Sri Lanka play, and yes, they lost the series 2-1. But there's some good players in Sri Lanka, Dil. I thought Kamindu Mendes as well. He looks a good player, the way he bats as well. And Nisanka, he came in that last Test and he just smoked it. I mean,
the way he plays, Sheldon, so well. Like, some of those drives and those shots, I thought he looked really good, especially in the last Test.
Yeah, Dil, exactly. So you just look at some of these players, and yes, especially the smaller nations or the teams outside the big three, they all have good players. They just need, more time and more Test cricket, because the more games you have, the better they'll be for it. That's what I feel, Dil, on that.
And it's interesting that you say that outside those teams, like England, Australia and India, because obviously these are the guys, when they play, you see stands being full. And I thought England versus Sri Lanka there, you expected people to be there a lot more. What do you think? Is it just because it's Test cricket dying, would you say that it didn't look that full? Or is it just because England were playing someone like a West Indies or Sri Lanka?
I think it's a mix of both, Till. I think even at Lord's, people were saying the ticket prices were way too high.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for day 4 and 5. And I think also it's because the West Indies games finished in 3 days. I think, if I'm not mistaken, all the games.
Yeah.
So people wouldn't want to spend that much and then maybe not even get to watch the cricket on day 4 or day 5. I think that's one of the reasons. And yes, still probably it is also because it's Sri Lanka and West Indies. I'm sure if it was an Australia coming or an India coming, no matter what prices would have been, people would have spent money and it would have been full. So I think there are multiple reasons to that, but it also shows that even in places like England, if you charge people too much, you can lose fans. So I think even in England, they got to take it more seriously like this, because if they start losing fans and crowds start getting less there, then cricket's really a tough place, because we've seen on weekdays, any day, it's full in England when they play.
Exactly.
So yeah, that is a why. But yeah, I think maybe not looking too much on that, because I think India's coming next year, and I'm sure every game when India come to play, England will be sold out there. So yeah, maybe not that. I think the quality of cricket, though, we saw in the summer as well. I thought West Indies tried, but it wasn't really a contest when West Indies came. It was 3 pretty one-sided games. I thought Sri Lanka gave a better fight. I thought, especially in the first game, they came reasonably close. By 5 wickets they lost, and for most of that game they were in it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought Smith and Root were the difference in that first game. And yeah, Jamie Smith's come to Test cricket and has been like a fish in water the way he's come in and played for England in that 6 or 7 spot. He's been really good till I feel since he's come in.
We'll get into that more, Sheldon. But just to speak more about the quality. What would you say teams like South Africa or something like that, Sheldon? Because I know South Africa also have a damn good team there, but for them to be in the same league and the same ranking as India, Australia, and England, what do you think they need to do, Sheldon? Because Pakistan obviously are down and out right now, and Pakistan were really really good one point in time, right? So teams like South Africa, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, where do you think, Sheldon, that they need to improve on?
Adil, I think you mentioned South Africa, and they are a great example. I think there was a series earlier in the year or end last year where they went to New Zealand and didn't send their main team. I think they
Exactly, yeah.
selected a whole new team because it was colliding with the SA 20, I think at the
20, yeah.
same time, which obviously for some countries as well, the finances are not there. I mean, South Africa play 2 test matches at home pretty much. Sometimes they only play 2 test matches in a year at
And
home.
which is strange,
Yeah.
which is so strange. I mean, I don't get the idea of playing two test matches. But given the team that they have right now, Sheldon, what would you say that they need to improve on?
I think they just got to play more Test cricket. If you're only playing 2 test matches a year or like 3, 4 test matches, it's going to be so hard for anyone. I mean, so many good players take time also to get going, right? Dill, in Test cricket, not everyone
Exactly.
comes out and plays.
Yeah.
And if you're only playing like what 10 matches in 3, 4 years, like it's insane for anyone to get into any rhythm because and that's the beauty of long series, Dill, like 3, 4 matches because
Love it.
yeah,
I absolutely love that.
it's a
When it's
battle.
four,
Yeah.
yeah, when it's 4 matches, 5 matches, you lose the first test, but you still have the next test to come in, and you still have the other test, so you can really build your way through that.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it too. And even teams like Sri Lanka as well, who only play 2 test matches, they have so many good players there, but they just don't have the time. And Dil, you mentioned 2 test matches. I think one-off test matches should be cancelled. We had a scenario where Afghanistan and New Zealand was supposed to play a one-off test match.
It didn't even happen. With, I think the match, was abandoned, right?
Yeah, and Dil, what's even more crazy is that I think on the second day, it was bright sunshine the whole day. It was bright
Yeah,
sunshine, but the
yeah.
but the pitch was in no state. And if you want to grow the game, you can't afford to have matches like this where it's bright sunshine and you can't get a ball bowled. I mean, that's just crazy. Cricket is a great game, though, but sometimes you just scratch your head and think like, what's happening? Because
Exactly,
and
man.
and another thing, I mean, this is not in a big issue, but some of the lack of brains in terms of breaks when there's rain.
Yeah,
After a 2 hour rain delay, you come back on and you're going for lunch when it's bright sunshine. No,
I don't get it.
you can't take lunch when it's raining. Like, what's the issue? I mean, the cricket does a lot of great things, but some of it, of course, they can still improve on.
We're going to speak about now England versus Sri Lanka. I thought those games were absolutely good. Of course, England hammered Sri Lanka there. I thought, Joe Root, we'll get to him in some time. But Sheldon, what a series he's had! 600 runs almost, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Joe Root in that series, brilliant, brilliant. He's just showing his domination there in this format. But Sheldon, England overall, I thought played really well. You mentioned Jamie Smith. The way he's coming and he's adapted. I thought the move between Ben Fowkes and Jamie Smith was seamless. And Jamie Smith has adapted really well. And there've also been some other guys like Ollie Pope also leading for the first time. I think in this series, I thought he did well. But apart from that, Sheldon, what do you think England have done right so far? Because the series versus West Indies also was good, but this one, I thought was Sri Lanka. They played really well because Sri Lanka obviously played a little better, like you mentioned, than West Indies when compared to them. But England, Sheldon, I thought showed why they are, one of the world's best.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big summer for England. I mean, not big names coming over, but I think it was very much, a series where they're planning for the future. I mean, the retirement of Jimmy Anderson at the start of the summer as well, Dil.
Yeah, that was insane. Yeah, man.
England looking past him. Stokes missed the series against Sri Lanka as well.
Yeah.
So that was a series where Ollie Pope had to come in and lead. And of course, English media, one thing they love doing is putting down their own players because you see,
Same old, same old.
say, well, I mean, Ollie Pope after 2 games is being absolutely bashed. I think Michael one came out and said he doesn't have the right character to lead England. And And I'm just thinking, how?
Is this the same guy who
Yeah,
praises Ollie Pope?
yeah. I mean, it's just crazy because Ollie Pope's very he's an odd cricketer to watch because at times he looks like he can't hold a bat. He'll play a sensational knock like he did in Hyderabad, and then he'll look like
Yeah,
he can't play spin for the rest of the series.
exactly.
Then again, against the West Indies, he hits 100 in the first match of the summer. You think, okay, here we go. It's going to be Ollie Pope's summer. Then he again looks like he can't hold a bat. And
Exactly.
and then he gets to the last match of the summer, and at the Oval, it was swinging around on day one. It was probably
Big time.
the toughest day
Big
to
time.
bat in the summer, and then Ollie Pope hits 100, and you're like, he's just very confusing cricketer because at times he looks like he has all the shots, and at times he looks like he just overthinks. But a good series for him because he got to lead Ollie Pope. I mean, probably didn't end the way he wanted it to in that last
Yeah.
game, but it also shows, Dil, England played terrific cricket, but it shows at times you got to just control it a bit because in that last game, for example, I know you started the first game, but it just shows when you get too aggressive, you can lose to anyone. But yeah, I thought the way the series started as well, Sri Lanka gave good fight in that first game. Kamindu Mendes hitting 100 as well. And Sri Lanka were in it in
Yeah.
that second innings.
Exactly. They were in the game, and I just thought there were some areas that they had to improve on. The bowling was a bit way off, Shell, and I thought lackluster. But England showed why they're good, and they I thought they played absolutely well. But Sri Lanka, if they held on to those moments, Sheldon, I thought that game could have gone anywhere.
Yeah, Dylan. I thought in that second innings, well, England were three down or four down quite early, and then England were probably too aggressive as well to start in that chase. But then that man again came in route, and he just said, "You know what? I'm not going to play aggressive." He hit one or two boundaries, very non-baseball like. He came in and just
Yeah,
he said, "You know what? I don't care. I'm going to take us home." And a 50 of 112 balls or 115 balls, yeah, that's the way he does it, and he just guided them home in that first test still. And Root will come to him because what he did in the second test still. I mean, to hit two
two
hundreds,
in hundreds.
two in hundreds. I mean, crazy. First he leveled Alistair Cook in the first innings, and then he said, "Okay, Cookie, don't worry, we won't be tied for too long."
Your record is gone.
Yeah, we won't be tied for too long. I mean, then he does it in the second innings, and Cook was there as well. He was watching, and I'm sure Cook knew for a while that Root was going to pass him because Cook was great, but I mean, the way Root bats still is just different class. He makes it look easy at times, still, and he's climbing
Yeah.
high and high up that chart, Dill, and it's just crazy to think where he was in 2021.
The way he's moved up the ladder, I think that's really really insane. He was way behind.
Yeah,
When you consider the Fab Four, so-called Fab Four, sometimes it's Fab Five,
yeah,
sometimes it's Fab Three. Root sometimes not even in that
yeah.
list there. But like you said, when all this was going on, Root was way behind, and for him now to just race past everybody and be right on top, that's absolutely insane there. But Sheldon, you mentioned a nice thing about the English media there, and what they do, like bashing their own players. Would you say that because Ben Stokes, the way he's been leading the side so far now, of course it's a very different way, it's in your face, it's like never back down kind of attitude there, we're going to give it our all. And Ollie Pope is obviously different, you know you get it. And would you say that that's why the English media, like, was like all behind Ollie Pope's, like,
Yeah, Dil, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, but then again, Dil, I think anyone who takes this captaincy place after Stokes eventually is done, it'll be a tough old job because I
exactly,
mean,
man.
Stokes the way he leads, also he has that thing where he can do anything and like everyone will be fine with it because it's Stokes. Whatever
Yeah,
he does, it's just him. Like even if it doesn't work, he'll be like, oh well, that's what he does. And yeah, he leads from the front as well. And I remember Stokes when he started his captaincy deal was probably way too aggressive with how he batted. He was
exactly,
overly
yeah,
aggressive, almost like
yeah,
he used to get out and people used to be like, "Oh, what are you doing, Stokes? You're a better batsman than this." I think I even
yeah,
remember a game where Mark Butcher asked Stokes about it. He's like, "Stokes, are you being too aggressive? You're a better batter than this." And Stokes like, "No, this is the way I want to play. This is the way I want my team to play." And but you see, Stokes, even he's such a smart cricketer, as we know. We've seen him in World
yeah,
Cup finals and Ashes. How he's also improved his game and how he's not
absolutely.
as aggressive when he comes out to bat now. He's a bit more contained, and it just shows like he is growing just like he wants the team to grow in that way. So yeah, for Pope, I'm sure he will captain England again down the line. But yeah, for him, definitely was a learning experience as well, because I think he said it was the most stressful 3 games of his life. But yeah, Dil, I mean, Yeah, big 3 games for Ollie Pope as well as captain. And I want to actually mention something about Joe Root since we mentioned him. I mean, to think in 2021 when Joe Root's captaincy was all over the place, England were getting thumped everywhere. Till COVID
Yeah,
times, like everything going. That's the time when he grew. And even though England were not playing great, the fact that he rose up and he still scored no matter what, and that just shows a lot of character. I feel Dil, because with the team struggling and the rest of England batting lineup at that time were pretty crap and not doing much. But he,
yeah,
he continuously scored for them, and I think that showed his character more. Now they're doing well and him scoring, but I feel that period, like in 21, 22, when England lost won 1 in 11, and he did so well. I think
yeah.
that showed the real character of the man, the way Root played during that time.
Joe Root. I mean, we can go on hours and hours there, and discuss about him and his the way he's played, the way he's led. But it wouldn't be enough, Sharon, because in my eyes, at least, Joe Root has earned that respect. Absolutely brilliant player. At one point, I didn't even like him. I'll be very honest, because he was there, like down and out sometimes. He'd score hundreds just for fun, but that time, Sheldon, where he went into another mode, he went into another zone altogether, and just started scoring hundreds for fun. And that's when the team not playing well, others around him like not doing well at all. But Joe Root consistently was there, Sheldon, at the top, scoring runs and big ones that too. I'm not saying just scoring hundreds or like 50s and 60s and all. He just kept scoring hundreds, and to see the way he's improved so much in the last 2-3 years. Also, if you take the data and you look at it, it's insane. I mean, I can't think of anyone else that's rose so fast in that time. And would you say that he's England's best Test batsman so far? I mean, in all the players taken, you've got it, the likes of Andrew Strauss, you had Kevin Peterson, you had Alistair Cook, all these guys, Sheldon. Would you say Joe Root is the number one guy?
I think he has to be Dil. I think he has. I think if I was going, I'd go between him or KP. I think obviously I think Kevin Peterson being more box office. You'd buy a ticket to watch Peterson bat because he can do anything.
Yeah,
Like he could
yeah,
he could get duck first ball playing a crazy shot. He just had that X factor about him, and I feel in that way, Root. Yes, he's probably doesn't have as much aggressive shots as
yeah,
KP. He's not that aggressive, but watching Root bat is so pleasing to the eye. Just the correctness he has and some of the cover drives he plays. I mean, it's just so good to watch him bat because he's not slow by any means. I mean,
yeah.
his strike rate, he ticks along at a reasonably quick pace. But yeah, I think Root is England's best ever, Dill. I mean, the way he's converting now, and he just seems to get better and better as well. And who knows how long more he could play for as well. And he could end up very high on that list of scorers as well. But yeah, I think Root is England's all-time best still.
Well, you already mentioned it, and that was my next question. Where could he end up, Sheldon? Because there's been a lot of noise and discussions about it. We've had experts also say, that Root can go past the legend, Master Blaster there. Can he do it? But looking at England, the way they are going to play now, and the amount of matches that they have in the next 2-3 years, also, if you look at it, it's quite enough. There's a lot of test matches there, and given his levels, Sheldon, and the way he plays, Joe Root, would you expect him to go past that? Because it was a breeze. He just went past Jayawardene, he just went past Alistair Cook, he went past Brian Lara, all these guys at ease, and he's there now. He's sitting nicely there, I think in sixth position,
Six, I think.
fifth or sixth, if I'm not mistaken, there, and he's just a few runs away. If you look at, I think he has to go past Jacques Callis, Ricky Ponting. I'm not sure if he's gone past Rahul
No, I don't.
as well there.
I don't think. Yeah.
So these three big names are there, and of course the legend, they're right on top. But where do you think he's going to end up? Because honestly, I feel he can do it. Given the way he's playing, Sheldon, I mean, in just my opinion, and I can be wrong here. He can, of course, get injured and be dropped out of the side, and there's a lot of things happening. For all you know, he may say, "I'm done after next year. I don't want to play anymore." You never know with Joe Root, but where do you think he's going to end up, Sheldon?
Dill, I mean, it's a big ask for him to reach number one, but you're right, Dill. The fact that he plays for England, and England plays so many test matches in a year, I mean, more than anyone. So if he does play 3-4 years, he could reach that, Dill. And I mean, that would be insane, Dill, for anyone to reach that number. But yeah, if Root continues like in this form, like the way he's played for the last 3, 4 years, I mean, he could break that record, Dil. But you know, Dil, there will be some people. We've spoken about Root and all he's done, but there will be some that will say there's only one place he hasn't done it yet, and he doesn't have an Ashes 100 away from home.
Oh my
That's
god. I
that's
can't believe he doesn't, bro. I
yeah,
really can't believe he doesn't have one.
yeah.
That's insane.
And that's probably the one asterisk mark on Root's career so far. I mean, he's had a fabulous career, but the Aussies will be there. They'll be saying, "Oh, he hasn't done against us yet in Australia." And I'm sure Root, I don't think he has. He should have a point to prove to anyone because he's of what he's achieved. But I'm sure he'll be looking at that and saying the Ashes next year in Australia. That's where you'll want to kick on and have a really good series-defining moment. Because we've seen
Yeah.
Steve Smith, how many Ashes he's dominated till. You could think
Big time, yeah.
2019, 2017. I mean, he always does it in the Ashes, and I think that's what Root will be looking at and eyeing up that Ashes to get 100 in Australia. And I think once he gets that, then he's pretty much settled. And like, I don't think there's anything that high he can achieve, but yeah, Sachin's record, obviously, and Ashes 100 away, I think, are two things in his mind probably right now.
Yeah, but you know what they say, Sheldon. I mean, and it's there to be seen. The Master Blaster didn't have any runs at Lords. He
Yeah,
didn't score 100 at
yeah,
Lords also. There have been some other names who's mentioned on that board there,
yeah.
the honors board at Lords, but the big man, he couldn't get his name up there. So, I mean, people will talk, Sheldon. If you do well, people are going to talk. If you do bad, people are going to talk. But I think Joe Root, will go on as an all-time legend of the game. There's no doubt about that. But moving on, Sheldon, in the same test, there was another guy who did absolutely insane. I mean, he took some wickets, he scored runs as well. Gus Atkinson, I thought he had a brilliant match there. Of course, Root doing well there, 100 in both innings, but Gus to come out there, down the order, score 100, back it up with some wickets as well. How often does that happen?
Yeah, Dylan, he's had a crazy start to Test cricket. He's probably benefited most from Anderson's retirement. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's come in and he's had a good summer. Of course, people will say he's probably not faced the toughest, opponents he's had to face in the Westleys and Sri Lanka, but you can only bowl to who you're bowling against, right? You can't.
Whoever the team
Yeah,
wants to play
yeah,
against at that
exactly.
time, man. Yeah.
But yeah, he's had a fabulous summer. I think he's done really well for England, and I think England will be looking to play him across formats as well. He seems like the type of bowler that could
Yeah.
play across all three. And Dill, his record at Lords so far is outstanding
Insane records, man.
because
Insane record.
he has two 10-fers and he has a batting 100 in the two games he's played at Lords, which is just crazy when you think of it. I mean, the fact that he scored 100 as well at Lords, and I think Root was saying that Atkinson looked a bit like callous when he was batting. I mean, I think that's a bit tongue in cheek, but Atkinson came out and he played some crazy shots, and I mean, it just shows, Dil, when it's going for you, and I think any player in cricket should enjoy when form's going, because when it's not going, it can go terribly wrong. So Atkinson's had a very good summer. I'm sure it'll get tougher for him because as he'll play more games away as well. I think England are going to Pakistan, and he'll go to Pakistan
Yeah.
and he'll find out it's not very easy to bowl there, because it's pretty flat.
Just a road.
Yeah.
It's just bowling on roads,
Yeah,
bro.
it's definitely not Lords. He's not going to get that moment there. But yeah, it'll get tougher for Atkinson. But I think so far, you can only judge from what you've seen so far. And he's been pretty good so far from what we've seen of him.
Yeah, and I thought England played well in that test also. But the third test, Sheldon, I thought Sri Lanka picked it up really well. Or would you say that England were overly aggressive? I thought England were overly aggressive, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying anything from the fact or taking anything away from Sri Lanka, the way they played. I thought they bowled superbly, especially in the last test. Nisanka, they're getting a brilliant 100 on that fifth day, I think. Fourth or fifth day. When he scored. Ollie Pope also getting 100 in the test there. But I thought Sri Lanka came out with a certain plan, Sheldon. They executed really well. But England's batting, Sheldon, in those innings there, I thought, especially in the second innings, it looked all over the place. It looked like they just wanted to get the match done early and try to attack. But like you said, it clearly backfired going that way.
Yeah, it almost felt like there was a lack of respect for Sri Lanka the way England batted on day 2 and 3. I thought,
Yeah.
and England got into such a good situation. Dil. I thought day 1 was the toughest to bat, and England got what,
Yeah.
200 or 230 or 240 for three. Pope played brilliantly on day 1, and it
Yeah.
looked like England was set for a big score. And if England just batted with any brains on day 2 in that first session, I think they would have won the game. But it was so careless. They were too reckless, and they just got, they just collapsed like completely. And it was 2 days in a row. The next day in the second innings, they collapsed crazily.
Exactly.
And for England, of course, like the media is going to be all over you for that. But that just showed, yes, you can play attacking. No one's going to criticize you for playing attacking. But at times, you just got to be a bit smarter. Those 2 days were the worst 2 days for England in the summer because I think the batting throughout the summer actually showed, I thought, a lot of responsibility. Like until this last game, they showed that they were playing a bit smarter. They were not too overly aggressive. But yeah, just in the last game, they probably got a bit too giddy. But take nothing away from Sri Lanka, Dilla. I thought they were brilliant in that last game. I thought Kamindu again batted really well. And I think Nisanka as well, Dill, in both innings.
Nisanka, yeah,
The
yeah,
way he
yeah.
came out and batted at the top of the order just set the tone for Sri Lanka, and he was brilliant. And I think he should play more often for Sri Lanka because he didn't start the series as
Exactly. He
well.
wasn't there in the series, and I couldn't understand why. And then he comes in and plays in this third test like as if nothing happened, and he's just been playing all this while, and he looks so good when he plays, especially on the offside, hitting the ball on the offside, and he just attacks right from the word go, and I think he's really good there. But you know what that did with England? If they had to win that game, they'd have gone up the test rankings there. Championship, of course, is at stake here. The World Test Championship, for those who don't know, the top two teams get to face off. But England, because of that game, they lost the third test. They slipped down. I think Sri Lanka is just above them because they won that game. Sri Lanka, they went above England. Otherwise, England would have been one up there. But where do you see England now, Sheldon, with the World Test Championship finals going to happen next year? How can England improve, and what can they do right from here on?
I think you'd expect them to beat West Indies and Sri Lanka. I don't think many surprises happened this summer. I mean, they won 5 out of 6 games, almost perfect, apart from the last game. But it will get tougher for England. I think they go away to play Pakistan and then to play New Zealand as well. So those will be two tougher tests. I think especially for England's bowling attack, which did well here, a younger
Yeah,
bowling attack, it'll be a bigger test to see how they do in foreign conditions. But yeah, I think it was a good test for them without Stokes as well.
yeah,
It's kind of looking towards the future as well. So I think they look at that and they'll want to win both away series as well, which they can.
absolutely,
So I
man.
think
Yeah.
for England, just looking ahead to that, it looks positive for now.
Yeah, I think England, will look to do well in those tests. Playing Pakistan, New Zealand, like you mentioned there. But Bazball, now you're gonna get to see them in white ball. Brendan McCullum just been named now the coach again for the ODIs and T20s. I think Brendan McCullum T20 ODIs, it doesn't get better. And if you've got Joss Butler leading the team, more often than not, you're gonna end up on the winning side.
Yeah, Dylan, you almost look at it and you think this when McCullum first got the job, you probably would have felt he was more suited to be the white
Yeah,
ball coach when he first
yeah,
got it. But it just shows also the character of McCullum because when he took the test team, they were in shambles. They were playing some very ordinary cricket, and he wanted the test job because he felt it was more of a challenge. And I
yeah,
and I think you can say he's taking the white ball team in a similar position. Yes, they have some aging old stars, but you kind of feel England and white ball cricket have to look to the future now because it just feels like one or two stars they have to look
yeah.
past. So I think it's going to be very exciting. I think also it's going to free up Butler a bit. It just feels like Butler's become a bit too tense when he's playing. You kind of feel he's a bit under too much pressure of
Yeah,
late. So I think with
yeah.
McCullum, that almost feels like McCullum has no pressure bones in his body. Till it just seems he's very relaxed. Whether
Too relaxed sometimes,
yeah,
bro. Too relaxed
yeah, sometimes
sometimes.
too relaxed. Honestly, you don't have McCullum's actually doing any coaching. And I mean, yes, I'm sure people will criticize and say, like, oh, is he really doing anything good? I don't think he's a technique coach. Really, he's not going to be someone who's, goes into the technique and helps you, sort out a glitch. I think he's more for the mental side, where,
Yeah.
and a great example is the way he's managed Zach Crawley, I feel, because Crawley's someone who, we can talk about at
We
times.
can have an entire
Yeah,
podcast on Zach Crawley, bro.
yeah, I mean, he's a cricketer who I think McCullum's got the best out of because we saw him in the Ashes series last year where he looked like unrecognizable the way he played.
Brilliant, man. Yeah.
And sometimes you need a coach like that who just believes in you no matter what you do. And I think
Yeah.
McCullum's that type of coach. So I think it should be a great fit for the white ball side. And if they play like how the test side's playing, I think they'll do all right with him as coach.
Of course, fans in England and everyone else, fans of McCullum, will be looking forward to that. And, with a lot of white ball that England are going to play, I think it is going to be really interesting to see how McCullum now takes England with the Joss Butler at the helm, to see how they go ahead and, what they can do there. But that's it from us, guys, on the podcast. I hope you really enjoyed it. And stay tuned for more. And we'll catch you soon in the next video, guys.